Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tisha Smith. I'm a part of the Healing Ministry.
Good afternoon.
A warm welcome to everyone joining us in person and online at the Bethel Baptist Church in Halfway Tree. We're delighted to have such a wide range of individuals from our community gathered here and online for this important presentation focused on increasing our awareness on diabetes. Today's presentation will be delivered by our distinguished guest presenter, Tony Kelly, who joins us all the way from the UK. Mr. Kelly brings valuable insights and experience about diabetes awareness and education. We are also grateful to have Dr. Pauline Williams-Green, a medical practitioner and a member of the Bethel Baptist Church, serving as our moderator this afternoon. Thank you for being here as we come together to learn, ask questions, and support each other in the journey towards better health and well-being. Let us go to God in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you this afternoon with grateful hearts as we gather to learn and share about an important topic, health topic, diabetes. We thank you for the healing ministry within the Bethel Baptist Church for hosting such a presentation that brings greater awareness to diabetes, a condition that affects so many persons in Jamaica. We pray for our presenter, Tony Kelly, a dedicated diabetes ambassador. Grant him wisdom, clarity, and compassion as he shares vital information and personal experiences to raise greater awareness about this condition. May his presentation inspire, educate, and empower everyone gathered this afternoon. Grant wisdom and guidance to our moderator, Dr. Williams-Green, as she leads today's presentation. Lord, we pray that this presentation will be informative and well received by everyone who hears. Make it spark awareness, encourage positive action, and bring hope to those affected by diabetes. May all we do and say this afternoon bring glory to your name. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. I now hand over to our moderator.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Tisha, for inviting me to be the moderator and for the introduction. Wow, we're excited. We appear to be few here, but there are others online, and over the years, thousands will actually listen to this presentation. So we're really looking forward to it. I'm told to make a few remarks. As Tisha mentioned, I'm still in family practice in Linstead, Jamaica. And yes, every day I see diabetes in some form or the other. In Jamaica, approximately 1 out of every 8 persons have diabetes. And so if we were to count 16 in here, 2 of us have diabetes, and I'll bet you probably more. Because sometimes it's diabetes that's not showing itself fully and in its fulminant form. So as I said, 1 in 8 Jamaicans suffer from diabetes. It affects all ages, both genders, and every socioeconomic strata. It can occur suddenly, without warning, or creep up slowly over months and years. You go to the doctor and the doctor tells you you have a touch of diabetes, meaning pre-diabetes, it's still diabetes. Just recently, I was visited in my family practice by an elegant female, tall. She was a policewoman, 30 years of age. She had suddenly developed frequent urination and a vaginal infection. A check with a doctor brought a diagnosis of diabetes. quite surprising to her. She was still, what's the word? She was still trying to recover from the shock. And she didn't have anybody else in the family with diabetes. So diabetes influences every aspect of our lives. It affects every part of our body, from the hair on our head, our eyes, down to our toes. And don't we know about the toes? We have heard of the loss of toes. So we're really excited, wanting to hear what Tony Kelly has to say. So let's talk a little bit about Tony, who is no stranger to Jamaica. Although he was born in London, he grew up here, as a matter of fact, and was a graduate of the Micro Teachers College, the Micro. And he was indeed president of the graduating class in 1976. He taught English and religious education here in high school in Kingston. In England, he worked for quite a while, over 30 years, in local and central government in roles which focused on equity, equality, diversity, and inclusion. And he went on to earn a master's degree in socio-legal studies from the University of Birmingham. He has been a prominent advocate for diabetes awareness and healthy living from 2012, and for nearly 8 years, he served as a diabetes UK community champion, educating communities in Britain and beyond about diabetes and well-being. He lives with hereditary type 2 diabetes for the last 20 years. He has managed it successfully through physical activity and diet, and indeed he does not take medication. He uses his experience as an example of disciplined self-management. His advocacy grew further, and in 2016, he was invited to join the National Diabetes Prevention Program Steering Group after impressing the National Health Service leader, Dr. Richard Mendelsohn, at a diabetes conference in the UK. His role later evolved into diabetes ambassador activist, and this is the role he's playing today. Since October 2025, he has taken on a more strategic, community-focused position with Birmingham Community Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust. We are really honored to have him. He's a sought-after speaker in radio and television interviews, and he leads free workshops, as he will today, and appears in healthy lifestyle videos, and he has been interviewed on the BBC. So we're really honored to have you, Tony, today, and we look forward to your presentation. Please begin. Please welcome him with a warm Bethel greeting.
Thanks for the welcome. Hello, everybody at Bethel. Yes, my name is Tony Kelly, and I'm here since the 1st of May, right on the island, the 1st of May. And I leave early June to go back to Birmingham, England. My wife tells me it's very cold at the moment, so I'm enjoying the sun here. Now, this is my 3rd trip to Jamaica. I came in November 2022 at my own expense. I came back November 2024 because November, by the way, is Diabetes Month. And then Aubrey Johnson of the Jamaica Medical Foundation got in touch with me through one of my batchmates, Franklin Johnson, who is not related to Aubrey, back sometime last year and said, everybody talks about here in Britain, because I've been to most of the parishes to do these events, 22 and 24. Would you come and do Jamaica Medical Foundation? So that's what, and they paid my fare and what have you. So that's what brought me here. And I've done one event. The launch was at Micro, my alma mater, and the second event was in Mandeville, and the third event is in Montego Bay. Outside of those 3 events, people got in touch with me and wanted me to do events all over the place. And they said there's something called burnout. So you're fortunate. Professor Errol Miller, who was the principal when I was at Michael, we spoke and he said, come to Bethel. So he passed me on to Reverend Dr. Layla, and the rest is history. Here I am, those online and those here and those who will listen to it later. This presentation, one in Linstead, the 23rd for the Pentecostal Church. And then, as I said, my final one is in Montego Bay for the Jamaica Medical Foundation and the Ministry of Health. So moving swiftly on, it's a diabetes awareness presentation. And as was said, I'm an ambassador or activist. I do have a lot of goodie bags here, or prizes here, but they will only be given out if you give the right answer. So you have to open your mouth and talk. I'm putting on my teaching hat here. And my very first question is, and I ask it every time, and I hardly get anybody who knows it, that shows it's there, plus it's there, a QR code. We are into acronyms these days. What does QR mean? What does it stand for? I was expecting that nobody in there would know, so nobody's going to get a prize. QR actually stands for quick response. So now you know that. Go home and ask your relatives, what is a QR code? It's acronyms we use on a daily basis, and we don't get the gist of it. And that's my starting point within the National Health Service and within Britain. A lot of medical staff, doctors, and so on, use these acronyms, and they just fly across people. But people need to open their mouth and ask the question, what does that mean? What does that mean? So, moving swiftly on, the only thing I'm going to highlight here, because you people come here regularly, so you know about all the exits and the fire alarm and so on, I'm going to highlight the mobile phone. I've been doing these events for 14 years, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and trust me, a mobile phone is going to go off in this audience today. I'm almost sure. So if I had £1 for every time a mobile phone went off, I'd be a millionaire by now. So moving swiftly on. Our health is our wealth. That's my strapline, or that's my motto. Believe it or not, that is cheeky me, Tony Kelly, as a little boy back in Carshalton in Surrey, in London, where I was born and lived with my parents, until they sent me to the land of their birth, Jamaica, a little district called Whitehall in the parish of St. Thomas. Now, you can tell that is not sunny Jamaica. I have on a cardigan, a sweater, or a jumper. It's cold England, okay? And that's me playing, I think it was Jigsaw at the time. I start with a health disclaimer. I am not a diabetic. I'm not a diabetic doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I am not a healthcare professional. Please bear that in mind, because some people who might even come in late start to say, oh doctor, tell me about my lumbago and my arthritis and my bad back. And I say, excuse me? But you speak like a doctor, or you're so knowledgeable. But please bear that in mind. I am a patient with my lived experience for 21 years with this medical condition, type 2 diabetes. 21 years. And the beauty about mine, not everybody will be in that position, is that I have lived with this medical condition for that period of time, and I have never taken medication. I pause here because that deserves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. And so far you've heard me, and you'll soon find out why is it that I manage my condition without any medication. So far, you've heard me keep on calling it a medical condition. I'll go back to that. But in St. Thomas, Whitehall, when I was growing up as a little boy, both people as relatives and those in the district, I saw people who had strokes. I saw people in the district who were completely blind. I saw people in the district who had kidney failure. Princess Margaret Hospital in St. Thomas, and they had one called Isaac Barrett Hospital, did not have the dialysis machine. So they used to have to come all the way from St. Thomas into Kingston to go onto the dialysis machine because of kidney, stroke, renal failure. Some of my relatives and other people in the district had heart attacks. And last but by no means least, some had chopping off of toes and feet lower limb amputations. My aunt, who was a teacher, Mrs. Ina Watson, she had 3 of her toes chopped off because of blood glucose, blood sugar, sores, slow healing of cuts and sores. And I now say last but not least, some of my relatives and people in the district died prematurely. Now I'm going to see if I'm amongst a Jamaican audience. Gone too? I am amongst the Jamaican audience. When I said that in Britain, some people said to me, gone too quickly. Me say, you don't come from Jamaica or the Caribbean. When I say gone too quickly, we say gone too soon. So, I would ask these relatives what is the matter with them. All they would tell me is that they have a touch of sugar. So they minimized, they trivialized, or they downplayed this serious medical condition by referring to it as a touch of sugar. By the end of the presentation, you will realize that diabetes is more than a touch of sugar. Are you with me? Yes. Now, so far you've heard me call it a medical condition. When I went back to England, I'll tell you in terms of the education system, Mrs. Thatcher and her government at the time, this is 1979, said, you can't teach in the high schools here. I taught at Holy Childhood High School just down the road, Dunrobin High School and Pembroke Hall Secondary, as it was then. And you'd have to go back and retrain for 4 years. I said, no, I'm not prepared to do that. I still regard the education system in the Caribbean, and I have no qualms in saying it, as far better than the education system in Britain. So I diverted. I went into the probation service and became a probation officer and a senior probation officer. My wife, who joined me, we got married in 1980, she joined me in 1981. She did the 4-year B.Ed degree course to be a primary school teacher again. Although she was a teacher here, a trained teacher here, I wasn't giving Britain that satisfaction. So I went into the probation service, and then let me go back to medical condition. I started, first of all, to develop 4 T's. T for tired, T for toilet, T for thirsty, and T for thinner. Tired, toilet, thirsty, thinner. And especially the toilet. I was getting up back 21 years ago 4-5 times during the night to go and use the toilet, or as we would say in England, Britain, the loo. My wife kept saying to me, something is wrong with you. But this is a man's thing. Men are in denial. Men are like the ostrich, the largest bird on the planet. Men bury their head in the sand, hoping that the problem will go away at the first sign of danger, just like how the ostrich does. Women, at the first sign of a twitch, an ache, or a pain, make a beeline to go and see their GP. It's a fact. And I need to get the genders, especially men, to address their health issues, to be more in touch with their feelings and emotions. So my wife kept nagging me because I was getting up 4 or 5 times during the night. This is 21 years ago, to go to the toilet or the loo. I was in denial, which is what most men are in. So, as I said, the women will go to the doctor. The men instead, at the first sign of a twitch, an ache, or a pain, they go on to the rumba, then go and play cricket, then go and watch football, then go on to play the domino, and are not in touch with their emotions. So I could take the nagging of my wife no more, and she's heard me speak so often. I went with a sample of urine before any breakfast to my GP's surgery. She put the dipstick in the urine, she held it up to the light, and it changed color. And she said to me, there is blood glucose or blood sugar in your urine, and there shouldn't be any. I think you have type 2 diabetes. But for a definitive answer, what I'm going to do is send off a sample of your blood to the lab, and it will determine whether you have type 2 diabetes. So it came back as an early Christmas present that I have this medical condition, and I decided there and then, instead of eating the 6, 7, 8 tablespoons of rice and peas, which me love, I am going to make the behavioral or lifestyle changes in order to keep the complications I alluded to earlier at bay. And that is why I eat healthily with my family. I do a lot of physical activity, which you might call exercise. But I'm going to talk about medical condition. I went for 14 years in the probation service without a day off sick. 14 years. And my boss said to me, I was a senior probation officer, I want you to go to Wolverhampton and tell them how you as a black man manage your type 2 diabetes. So I went and I spoke there 14 years ago this June. And when I finished speaking for 10 minutes, Diabetes UK, the well-known charity organization in Britain, somebody came up and said, come over to Macedonia and help us. You've got the gift for the gab, you can chat, you're articulate, you're eloquent. Would you like to be a diabetes ambassador? And I said, yes, I'm going to early retirement soon. So I took on the role, and that's what I've been doing ever since retirement, voluntarily going across the world to give talks to people, especially African Caribbean men, Asian men, white men as well, but also women, about how to manage the diabetes if they have it, and how to keep it under control, and how also to prevent getting it. And that's what I've been doing for the longest while. Medical condition. When Diabetes UK decided to train me, they said, Tony, do not go into communities and call it a medical condition. I accept that in the textbooks and on the internet, and those who have been to medical school and the nurses will know it as a non-communicable disease, an acute disease, a chronic disease, and there's another one, non-communicable disease, acute disease, chronic disease, or but the point I'm trying to make here about disease is they said to me when they trained me, Tony, you don't have a disease. Don't go around telling black people that they have a disease called diabetes. It is a labeling. Say instead medical condition. So throughout the entire presentation, you will hear me keep on referring to it as a medical condition. I am not allowed, according to what I've been taught and trained, to call it a non-communicable disease, chronic disease, acute disease, or autoimmune disease is another one. So I have been with the National Health Service and then moved on to the Birmingham Community Health Care Foundation, going around all over the place to do these presentations, enabling me to share with you how I manage and control mine. Not everybody will be as good as me. In my case, it runs in my family. So it is what we call, especially for the little boys and girls here, hereditary. Hereditary. It runs in the family. So in a sense, I knew I was going to get it. Let me start with, there was the Second World War, 1939 to 1945. Remember those dates. And after Hitler and the Germans bombed Britain on the pizzas and on the post office walls and the bars and so on, all across the Caribbean, there was something, a man, white man, your country needs you. The mother country, Britain, needed people from the empire, from the Commonwealth, so to speak, to come and rebuild Britain. So, some people went as bus conductors, some went as bus drivers, some went as sweep cleaners, some worked in the factory. The person in the middle, by the way, the NHS, the National Health Service, was formed in 1948, remember that? And then, of course, the first Windrush ship that docked at Tilbury in London in 1948 as well. In 1952, my aunt from Bath, St. Thomas, Jamaica, here, went to train as a state registered nurse in London. The following year, that happens to be my mother, the only black person in that picture, who went also to train as a state registered nurse. It didn't end there. A third sister went in 1956 to train as a state registered nurse, all from Bath. So you know what I call them? The 3 degrees. You remember that pop group? That's what I call them, the 3 degrees. And I go to a lot of events across Britain, and they like to show images of pure white people, which I take great exception to. And I say, you can gladly have these images. Two of them are in their nursing uniform. To show, we need to show children this age, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, that black people played their part in rebuilding Britain. Are you with me? All right, okay? So people sometimes say to me, Tony, why you have to show your family? It's about changing the narrative, and it's a part of our history. Moving swiftly on. Oops. I move on to cooking. As a child growing up back in Whitehall, St. Thomas, living on a big farm, and my aunt was primary school teacher, and my grandmother and my granduncle, every time a boy, like me or my cousins, made a beeline to go into the kitchen, we were told in pure, simple Jamaican language, go take your book. Boys were not allowed in the kitchen. The domain of the kitchen was women and girls. I am wanting, and even at school, primary school, we did woodwork and auto mechanics and so on, and the girls did home economics and baking and sewing. I am urging you to change that gender divide. The girls must learn to do the things that the boys normally would do, and the boys vice versa. So that if the car tire or the bicycle tire gets punctured, the boys or the girls can change it. And the same way when the boy has flown the nest and gone, they must be able to sew the button on their clothes and must be able to iron their shirt. Are you with me? Are you with me? Yes. Right, okay. And I'm very conscious about that. We cannot have this gender divide. So let me tell you what happened. I couldn't even boil an egg. I went to Michael. I still couldn't cook. I then went back to Birmingham, to live in England, in Birmingham, and I couldn't cook. So I would wait at home. My wife was a primary school teacher with my daughter, who is an opera singer. They would come home while I'm lauding it, reading the newspapers or watching the television. And I had the best Christmas present I could ever have in 2008. My daughter gave me 15 Caribbean cookery classes, all the way from where I live in one part of the city, all the way over to Boldmere, Sutton Coldfield. That is me proudly in my pinafore learning, or apron, learning to cook Caribbean food. I leave you to decide who you think now is the best cook in the Kelly household. Okay? I'm not going to say. But I can get by. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. Where the men and the boys, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, in Ghana, the takeaway, the fast food, or what I call junk food. You have got to get into the habit of learning to cook. Start these young kids at this age, at basics, get them around, teaching them what to do, this, that, and the other. You have to get your boys learning to cook so they know how much sugar, how much salt, how much oil, how much saturates they're putting in, and cooking more wholesome food. And on the issue of cooking, some of us are tired coming home from work. You see, the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, I'm urging you, cook 3 or 4 of your favorite dishes and put them in the fridge or freezer. So on the way home, when you smell that particular type of chicken, which I'm not allowed to mention because I'll be sued, or you smell the fish and chips, or you smell the this or the that, you know you have something that you have prepared, wholesome food that you've prepared, and you can take it out. Are you with me? Yes. Okay, so I can cook, and I'm urging those who can't cook, won't cook. May I ask you, I'm going to engage with you. What gender are most cooks, the ones you see on television? What gender are they? Men. Male. So this business of can't cook, won't cook, I'm not buying it. If Tony Kelly can cook, everybody else can cook. And you have to start. It's better too late for a shower of. A shower of? Great. I'm amongst the Jamaican audience, and they're supposed to be really, So, moving on, we're coming to diabetes. Back in England, I go to a lot of these big events where the academics and the professors and the consultants get up, mainly white people, and speak. And then when they do, they speak about hard-to-reach communities. When they finish their presentation, mine is the first hand to go. I say, excuse me, could you explain who are you referring to as the hard-to-reach communities? I'm in a Jamaican audience, them bright and bold like stadium bulb. The Africans, the Caribbeans, the South Asian, the white working class. I say, excuse me? Are these people on Mars, Jupiter, in the rainforest, in the deep blue sea, on the Himalayas? Please don't be patronizing and condescending by referring to black people, African, Caribbean, and South Asian people, as hard to reach. It could, in some senses, be deemed to be racist. We are not hard to reach. Just go to Brixton, go to Handsworth, go to Lozells, go to wherever. You will find black people all over the place. So I don't like the term, and whenever you hear it, you need to challenge it. And this is what you need to challenge it by saying. Say instead, historically excluded, historically neglected, marginalized, or underrepresented or underserved communities, then you're referring to us. Don't call us hard to reach. I'm not having it, and neither should you. So, moving swiftly on, if Muhammad can't go to the mountain must go to Muhammad. And I do, on average, in Britain alone, since retirement, 140 community events per year. I knock on gurdwaras, mosques, churches, temples, residential homes, office blocks, to get people engaged. When I just started 14 years ago, people said, well, are you a doctor? I said, no. Oh, we can't have you. But once they hear me talk, some churches have me 3 times a year. They said, Tony, you give the message so well. We want you back this time and this time. And one church in particular, which has an affinity and really takes the health and well-being message, and I big them up all the time, is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They really practice what they preach. But I go to wherever I'm asked. I have about 10 of these, and I have the hoodies to match. And I'm on a plane, 30,000 feet in the air on a plane. And somebody will say, excuse me, you work for diabetes or on a train? Oh, yes, I am. And by the way, here's my card. Go on, take it. And that's how I get engagement. That you see up there, I can't take that with me everywhere. So that is why I have the cards. And they how I then get engagements. And people say, you gave me my card, you gave me your card 30,000 feet on a British Airways flight or on this flight. And then they ring me up and say, oh, yes, I remember I did that. So I am all for, and I think, by the way, I'm not Jesus, but when Jesus was on earth, he didn't go into the temples. He went onto the beaches. He went into the marketplace. He went into the agora to find fishers of men and women. It's the same principle that I adopt. You won't find me at health clinics, health centers, and at hospitals. Whoever go to those places are a captive audience already there for a reason. So I go to where they're playing the dominoes, where they're doing the nails, where they're at the barber shop, the hairdressers, where they have the car boot sale, and engage with people and get engagements that way. Okay? Prevention is better than cure. And the last bit down there says, I sit on a lot of august bodies. These are huge, big bodies. They have a word in England, and they call it diversity. And what they tend to do is, for diversity, they will put one black or one black man or black woman on it and say, we're diverse, and the rest are white. Well, if you have Tony Kelly on your body, trust me, I ain't there to just tick the box. I am there to open my mouth and talk and represent the interests of African, Caribbean, and Asian communities, okay? So some of you might know the thing called Marmite. Some people love me to bits. And another said, can't stand me. You have to decide whether you love me or not. Okay? Moving swiftly on. Now, this is where I engage you even more. Shout out for me, please, any of the top 10 countries where diabetes is rampant. Shout them out. I know Jamaica was going to say. I'm not going to say where this was. Somebody over here said USA. Who was that? There you go. You haven't finished. Come on. You said Jamaica, you said USA, where else? Sorry? Huh? Britain? I'm not going to tell you. London? No? Once more and then I'll move on. One more. Africa is a continent made up of 52 countries. I'll stop there. All right? While I have a sip of water, feast your eyes on the top 10 countries in the world where diabetes is rampant. Okay, cause of time, let's move on. You will notice there are 5 Asian countries in the top 10 with diabetes. These are from the International Diabetes Federation, these figures. China, India, Pakistan, Indonesia, and Bangladesh. Because I've been doing this event for so long, people sometimes say to me, Tony, I've never seen a fat Chinese man or fat Chinese woman. How come so many of them have diabetes? If you have that thought in here, as of today, you're going to get rid of it. It is not only people who are overweight, mildly obese, morbidly obese or fat who can develop this medical condition. People who are slim, skinny, let me go real Jamaican, mager, can also develop type 2 diabetes. More on that later. But there are 5 Asian countries in the top 10, and I have never done an event in 14 years where somebody, even if it's a white audience, somebody in a shout out, Jamaica. Kindly remember, on the island of Jamaica lives under 3 million people. Look at the country, please, in 10th place. How many people? Come on. 8.4 million. So Jamaica does not have that amount. They're not in the top 10. However, diabetes in the Caribbean, listen loud and clear, is very, very serious. I've been to Dominica, I've been to Montserrat, I've been to Barbados, this is my 3rd trip to Jamaica. The Caribbean has a major problem with diabetes, this medical condition, and we need to take it seriously and do something about it. Hence me doing all these travels, going everywhere to alert people and make people more aware of the condition. So those are the top 10 countries, and little England or Great Britain isn't in the top 10, but we're going to come to that in a second. That just shows every ethnic group, whether you're Asian or whether you're white or whether you're African Caribbean, every ethnic group can get the medical condition. Now, worldwide, in 2021, these are figures, by the way, from the International Diabetes Federation. So none of the slides I'm showing you are mine, apart from the ones with my family. All the other slides are given to me by the National Health Service or Diabetes UK or the International Diabetes Foundation. So in 2021, 537 million people had the medical condition diabetes. However, in 2030, the figure is going to rise, projected to rise to 643 million people. And by 2045, it is going to go up to 783 million people. Now, some people said to me, Tony, that is far away. I'm going to ask you to cast your mind back to the millennium. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what year are we in? Come on.
2026.
At 2026. And remember 1999 going into 2000. We're 26 years into the new millennium. You see how time has flown by? So don't tell me that 2030 is it's far away, as is 2045. They're just around the corner, as we would say. Okay? Now, I always put this down to emphasize this point. Globally, diabetes is responsible, it's showing it on the screen, for 1 death every 8 seconds in the world. Make that sink in. Every 8 seconds in the world, somebody dies from diabetes complications. Okay? Now, Usain Bolt has the world record, our own Jamaican Usain Bolt, for the 100 meters. That happens to be 9.58 seconds. So it's even before him get to the tape, 8 people worldwide have died from diabetes. And that figure is rising. So by the next time I get invited here, it won't be every 8 seconds. It might be every 7 or every 6 seconds. It keeps going up and up and up in terms of the number of people. And in 2021, just that year, and you're going to ask me why we chose that year, in 2021, alone, 6.7 million people worldwide died from diabetes-related causes. We chose that year because it was coming to, we had COVID and the coronavirus 2020, 2021. More people die yearly from diabetes than what died during that pandemic we had with COVID-19 and the coronavirus. So you need to put it into context. Diabetes is a major cause for concern, and Jamaica is not escaping that. It's right in the hub on the front of it, okay? 5 million people, I'm going to bring it to the UK. 5 million people in the UK have diabetes. But we reckon there's about 1 million people walking around with the condition and they don't even know that they have it. Why? It says it's up there. But why haven't they been diagnosed? There you go, sir. They haven't been to the doctor. And there are people in this room, I would suggest, who have not gone and had what we call your regular health check done. Men in particular are constantly in denial and they don't go and get their health checks. I am urging you. Some of you might drive a Lamborghini or a Porsche or a Volvo or a BMW. You make sure the wheels are right and the brakes are right, and in England you call it the MOT, Ministry of Transport test, and everything about the car is right, or the vehicle or so on. I'm saying to you, your body given to you by Jah, Jehovah, Allah, whoever you worship, is far more important than that piece of junk outside. And people say, Tony, you can't call me BMW or my Porsche a piece of junk. I say, if you leave it out there in the rain or in the snow, it will rot. And this is the point I'm making. You are to get your children, grandchildren, children and young people. They seem to think they're immortal, invisible, and that nothing's going to happen to them. Diabetes can remain undetected in your system, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for 10 years, having its wicked way at you. And I was one of those. When I went and had my test done 21 years ago, she looked on the screen and the GP said, Mr. Kelly, you have not been down to this surgery in 8 years. I held my head down in shame. Now I go regularly because I have diabetes and have to go once a year to get it checked. So the point I'm making is how important it is to get your checks done. And at this point, not with diabetes, but I always bring it and show at my events, 1 in 4 black men will get prostate cancer. In Britain, it's 1 in 8 white men. And they're trying to say, what is causing this? It's to do with our DNA, or genetics, or metabolism, or genes, okay? And also to do with black men eating a lot of red meat. So the oxtail, and the curry, and the beef. It interferes and affects their prostate, that walnut gland. And one needs to be mindful. Here in Jamaica, from me growing up, we used to call it stoppage of water. Have you heard that? Right. Well, I'm saying to you loud and clear, the prostate is one of the only organs in the human body which increases in size as the man gets older. Every other thing shrinks. But the prostate, which is there to help to make semen and is behind the ureter, it's sort of like you have a kink you have the hose pipe, and then it has a kink, and then the water can't get to go through. That's the same sort of thing. But it might not be prostate cancer. I know I digress a bit, but it is important to say it. It might not be prostate cancer. It might be an enlarged prostate. Remember, every man as he gets older gets enlarged prostate. Or it might be a urinary tract infection called prostatitis. But I pass that on. I mentioned that because that's also important. Get your men folk kicking and screaming to go and see their GP for their checkups. And then a lot of these events that I go to in some of the countries, in England, the National Health Service is free. Over here, you have to pay to go and see some of your GPs. But then there's some places here that I've been to where they have health fairs. So they will do the blood glucose monitoring, and they'll do the cholesterol monitoring, and they will do the blood pressure monitoring. And those are done at some events for free. If you know of any of those events, I'm going to one on the 23rd in Linstead, put on by the Pentecostal, and all of those will be done there. And I'm the main speaker to do my diabetes presentation. But moving swiftly on, this is how much it has gone up. In 1998, it was 1.4. This is Britain. Then went up to 3.8, and now we are at 5 million and counting of people with this condition. I was trained by Diabetes UK to focus on type 2. So sometimes people say, but Tony, you didn't talk a lot about type 1. I'm not medically qualified. 90% of people with diabetes, the medical condition, have type 2. 8% have type 1. And 2% have rarer types of diabetes, which I can't talk about because I'm not medically qualified. I focus on the 90% of people, and the same would be here in Jamaica. The bulk of people who have diabetes have type 2. You're going to soon find out the difference between type 1 and type 2. Now, you won't be able to see those, but I'm going to read some out to you. There are graphs of wards back in Birmingham where diabetes is rampant. And I'm going to see if anybody who probably has been to Birmingham or England will know why. The higher the graft, Lozells, Aston, Niches, Handsworth, Smallheath, Sparkbrook, Saltley, it's a higher the diabetes rates are in those places. Who can tell me why? There's several answers, but I'm looking for one in particular. Shout them out. Why is diabetes type 2 rampant in Handsworth, Aston, Niches, Lozells, Saltley, Sparkbrook, Alum Rock? Sorry? Low income, that's a good reason. Yes, that's correct. Low income. Say, what else? Who said diet? Are you a nurse? Huh? There you go. Apart from this, and somebody over here did say food. Diet, food. Every second shop you pass in those areas is a fast food, takeaway, or what I call junk food. And I'm saying to you loud and clear, we have got to stop eating this junk food. I won't mention the place, but I come here often, and I will see the line down from here, so down to Carib Cinema. And I say, what are these people doing in this line? On a Saturday, they're going for a particular type of chicken. For my eyes down here, sir, for my need, Saturday in our home to this day is Saturday soup. Up to this day, if you come to our home on a Saturday, you are not getting rice and peas, you're not getting any chicken, you are getting soup. Chicken soup, or it might be gungo pea soup, but it is a form of broth or soup that you will get on a Saturday, religiously in the Kelly household. So all these people who are, I was on a program, Jerry McDonald's show, I've been on quite a few radio programs since coming, and he said, I said, I can't mention the name because I'll be sued. He said, the place where you have to get a mortgage to buy this chicken. I said, well, that just shows how expensive it is. But seriously, you need to think about how are you going to eat sensibly without every time going to the fast food, the takeaway, or the junk food. And they're just springing up all over the place. Now, this is why diabetes is serious. It affects every part of the body. I want to stress here, every week, not every fortnight, not every quarter, every single week in Britain, diabetes leads to 500 premature deaths, or as we said earlier, gone too soon. Every week in Britain, diabetes leads to 284 lower limb amputations. And I'm going to address that straight away so I don't forget it. First of all, I'm begging. When I was a child growing up, we used to have to walk around barefoot. The only time you wear shoes is when you're going to church or so on. Even when you're going to school, at our primary school, we went barefoot. And I don't have no qualms about doing that. But I'm telling you now, please, in this day and age, do not walk around barefoot. Even on the nice liner or the carpet or the tiles, little Johnny or Mary or Sue might have dropped a pin or a marker or a needle or a thumbtack on the floor and you there walking on it and it goes up in your feet and you're not having the nerve sensations, you're not feeling it. And what can happen? Your feet can then become infested, slow healing of cuts and wounds. Please, the lovely beaches in Jamaica where you have probably the glass, broken glass, or the sardine tin or whatever you left on the beach, or the condensed tin also. Do not, whether at home or elsewhere, walk around barefoot. Because the nerves, if you're not feeling it and something goes into it, which is why my daughter, a few years ago, some people like to wear little flip-flops, slippers. They're absolutely no good. But look at the size of that, the thickness of that. They're called Birkenstock. They're very expensive, but I buy one, get one half price. If a thumbtack or a rusty nail or a piece of glass goes into that, will it end up going into my feet? I don't think so. So that's what I'm saying to you. Buy shoes or sandals or slippers which have a degree of thickness that will prevent it. I'll give you a little story, and this is a true story. I'm in the house of God, so I wouldn't tell you a lie. I go to a certain gym, and I didn't see a chap there for a while, and then I asked where he is. And somebody said, go and visit him in Dudley Road Hospital, which I did. And he pulled off the bed linen and showed it to me. Now this black guy used to do all the weights and so on and wanting to show how muscular he was and so on. I said, what happened? True story. He was at home, a glass dropped, and he used a dustpan and brush and took it all up and put it in the bin. However, a splinter remained on the floor. The splinter went into his big toe. And typical of most men, I'm using Bethel to try and get the toe better. But instead of it getting better, it's getting stink, and the pus, and so on. In St. Thomas, we call, I hear it's not known in every parish, but in St. Thomas, when you have sore foot, they call it tembe. And you heard the word tembe before? Eh? Oh, thank God, say something. Because when I say it, people say, that's news to me. It's a St. Thomas term. Stinking toe or sore foot. It was getting worse and worse. And then somebody visited him and said, you need to go to the doctor with this because it's not getting better. This guy had diabetes, slow healing of cuts and wounds. So eventually, he plucked up courage, went to the doctor. The doctor took one look at him and said, go down to Dudley Road Hospital. Go immediately to Dudley Road Hospital. Either gangrene or septicemia, one or the other, had set into his big toe. They chopped off his big toe. Sadly, because he had left it so late, the gangrene or the septicemia had spread to his other 4 toes, and they chopped them off as well. It had spread up to just below the knee. He had his knee chopped off and had to be fitted with a prosthetic limb. And because of that, he closed all the windows, the curtains, the drapes, the what have you. He would not go outside, what we call depression, dark cloud setting, and he would not go. And then I heard about it, and I rang him up. And because I'm a motivational speaker, I said to him, you've lost a leg. You haven't lost your life. Try your best to get over this. So that's the whole issue of slow heal. And as I said, my aunt in Whitehall, St. Thomas, she had 3 of her toes chopped off. I'll say 2 things here. I'm going to teach my granny to suck eggs. Dry, I can hear her saying it now, dry between your toes properly. You must always, when you've had your shower or bath, dry between your toes properly. Never ever put lotion between your toes. And people say, why is that, Tony? Because if you put lotion, the friction can end up causing the skin to start becoming sore. Okay? Put talcum powder if you wish between the toes, but never lotion. And then back in England, we have this bit here, the back here. And even the King and Queen of England, them foot bottom at the back, has the dry skin. In England, I have to go to Holland and Barrett or Marks and Spencer's and buy pumice stone to rub down the skin at the back. Over here in Jamaica, we just go down to the standpipe or the riverside and then just rub it against stone and get or against a rock or so on. So please, and if it's elderly people, make sure you do that for them, because if there are any crevices or so on between there and anything goes inside there, that's when the damage is done. So I have to go once a year and see my diabetic nurse once a year, and she tells me to look away. And she says, put your foot up, and I do it like that. And she does that. And she said, did you feel that? I said, no. But she eventually uses a prong and touches all the nerve endings on my both feet to make sure that I'm having the proper nerve endings, which is why I'm urging you not to walk around barefoot. Another story I can tell you very quickly is of a man. He had diabetes, and he ran a hot bath. Now, we who have children and grandchildren know, to test the temperature of the water, what do? What do you do to test the temperature of the water before you put the baby in the bath? Come on. You use your elbow. You use your elbow to test the water to make sure it is at a temperature so you can put the baby. This man didn't do that. All he did, put on the hot scalding water, jumped in the bath and sat there for how long? Leaning on the edge. Scalded the whole of his feet and had both feet chopped off. Both feet chopped off. So he now uses a wheelchair. It is important that you take care of your feet. Are you with me on that? Right. So moving swiftly on, 770 strokes happen from diabetes each year, 590 heart attack, not each year, each week, sorry, stand corrected, and 2,300 cases of heart failure. Diabetes is also the leading cause of preventable sight loss of people of working age in the United Kingdom. I am going to tell you something about diabetes at the back of the eye. It's called diabetes eye screening, not ice cream. And what happens is, some people, I don't wear glasses, I've got perfect vision, but I have to go, since I've been diagnosed 21 years ago, every year to have drops put in my eyes at the optician, who take lots of cameras, lots of pictures and so on, send them off to the clinic or the lab, and it comes back and it says, you're good to go. It's a big term, diabetes retinopathy screening, or to make it simple, diabetes eye screening. And every time it comes back, it's good to go. I'm good to go. But some people, because their blood glucose or blood sugar is too high, they start to have blurred vision. And eventually, if they don't get it seen to, they go blind. I will mention the 4 countries in the Commonwealth where diabetes, blindness from diabetes, is rampant. Belize, St. Lucia, you can look them up, Dominica, where I've been, and Jamaica. Blindness from diabetes is rampant in Jamaica. And I remember a couple of years ago, one of my cousins down in St. Elizabeth, his Rotary Club or Lions Club said, Tony, we have so many young people down here with diabetes and they're gone blind. Can you do a little campaign over there? So with some of my friends, I managed to raise over £2,000. And I live very close to the Queen Alexandra College for the Blind. And what I did then was go there and buy all the canes, different types of canes, and white canes, and then sent them off to the charity in St. Elizabeth. And they sent lovely thank you letters and pictures of them giving them out to children as well as adults, all to do with gone blind from diabetes. So if you notice your relative, blurred vision, and they're squinting and they're not seeing the things properly, you are to encourage them to go to the opticians. However, the optician cannot be the final definitive answer that they have diabetes. It is the doctor, the blood test from the GP will determine. But you can start. And so many people said to me, Tony, it's because they wear glasses. They went to the optician and the optician said, I don't like what I see, these spots at the back of your eye. You must go and get it checked up at the GP. Some people choose to, and men in particular, stubborn as ever, don't bother. And that's when blindness comes in. And I should go back to the issue of the feet. I should have come here November last year, which is diabetes month. Okay? But Melissa struck. So I was in Montserrat, and then I was to go home and then come here. In Montserrat, only 5,000 people live on the island of Montserrat, because some of you will remember that volcano 30 years ago. The men in Montserrat, some of the men in Montserrat, they go to the rum bar and they drink this and that and the other, and then the blood glucose, and they get cuts and sores on their feet. Lower limb amputations in Montserrat are at a very high level, especially amongst men, losing their feet. There was even a case, and somebody said to me, there was a hospital or some part of the States, you'd have to go and look it up, whereby somebody noticed a lot of black people were walking around in a certain part of the States with lower limb amputations. And they started to investigate and think, the lower limb amputations really should be a last resort. But somebody was just chopping off black people's feet, left, right, and center, and not giving them the chance to get the feet better or what have you. So that's part of the racism which we have to encounter. But I just thought I'd leave that one with you. Can you all read what's at the very bottom, please? Now, this is a big group. That was read very, very funky and weak. Can you all read it with gusto and feeling for me, please? In the UK, every 2 minutes, somebody gets a diagnosis that they have the medical condition, type 2 diabetes. Moving swiftly on. What's happened there? Technician, help me out. Why is it not moving? That's working, but this, hang on. Sorry, did I go one too many then? Something went wrong. Bear with me. Oops. Right, this is the next slide that you're going to watch. The sound, sir. Whoops, sorry. Hang on. Hang on. Bear with me. I'm the world's biggest technophobe. Right, sorry, I went one too many. So before I go to the sound, this was the next slide. About 10 billion pounds, not dollars, 10 billion pounds is spent yearly on diabetes in Britain. 10 billion. There are countries in the world which do not have that sort of money as their gross domestic product, poorer countries. And we in Britain are spending 10 billion pounds on one condition alone, diabetes. NHS, National Health Service, 1 million pounds an hour, or a tenth of the NHS budget. And now we're coming to this. The sound, please.
Type 2. They're different conditions, but they're both serious. There are some other rarer types of diabetes too. What all types of diabetes have in common is that they cause people to have too much glucose in their blood. But we all need some glucose. It's what gives us our energy. We get glucose from our body to break down the carbohydrates that we eat or drink, and that glucose is released into our blood. We also need a hormone called insulin. It's made by our pancreas, and it's insulin that allows the glucose in our blood to enter our cells and fuel our bodies. If you don't have diabetes, your pancreas senses when glucose has entered your bloodstream and releases the right amount of insulin so the glucose can get into your cells. And if you have diabetes, this system doesn't work. When you've got type 1 diabetes, you can't make any insulin at all. If you've got type 2 diabetes, it's a bit different. The insulin you make either can't work effectively or you can't produce enough of it. In both types of diabetes, because glucose can't get into your cells, it begins to build up in your blood. And too much glucose in your blood causes a lot of different problems. To begin with, it leads to diabetes symptoms like having to wee a lot, being incredibly thirsty, not feeling very tired. You may also lose weight, get infections, flush, or suffer from stroke in wounds. Over a long period of time, high glucose levels in your blood can seriously damage your heart, your eyes, your feet, and your kidneys. These are known as the complications of diabetes. But with the right treatment and care, people can live a healthy life. And there's much less risk that someone will experience these complications. If you've got diabetes, you can find lots of information and support, and I'm living with it using our website and helpline. As well as campaigning for everyone with diabetes to get the right care, Diabetes UK fund research into all types of diabetes so we can develop new treatments and one.
Find a cure. You can find out more about type 1 and type 2 diabetes and how they're treated in our next videos.
Who send off to quack, fake, false, phony websites for tablets and potions and medication. There is no known cure for diabetes. Please remember that. Because when you get the medication that they sent you, the quack, the fake, the false, cow dung could be in it, horse manure or grass. Please do not send off for any medication, anybody telling you. When they find a cure for diabetes, the world will know. So don't do that, okay? Now, what I want you to know about that 2-minute video, 2 minutes long, go to the Diabetes UK website and show your family, your colleagues, your friends, your relatives, your neighbors. That explains what is diabetes in 2 minutes. But I'm going to break it down even further so that you get a clear understanding of what it is. First of all, there's a chap in Britain who does the voiceover in that named Philip Schofield. He doesn't have diabetes. His mother, now this is the type 1 we're talking about, has type 1 diabetes. Philip Schofield's mother. 2 other people I'm going to mention to you who have type 1 The previous Prime Minister of Britain, Theresa May, has type 1 diabetes. And a third person, which you all should know, the black American actress Halle Berry, has type 1 diabetes. Now I'm going to make it crystal clear so there's no misunderstanding. Here is the navel string, navel, or as we would have said, belly button. Immediately behind it is a 6-inch gland, 6 inches in length, which produces the hormone insulin. Without insulin, you will die. You can live without any teeth in your mouth, without any hair on your head, without any feet. You cannot survive without insulin. So the pancreas makes the insulin, which regulates the food we eat. Okay? Now, in type 1, and remember only 8% of people have type 1 diabetes, the pancreas stops working altogether, just stops functioning. It's nothing to do with age or gender, ethnicity or size. It just stops happens. And only my cousin over in Spanish Town, he has type 1. So he's not making any insulin at all. Okay? And children as young as 2, 3, 5, 17, 20 can also develop type 1. But that's nothing to do with their lifestyle or anything. With type 1, for the rest of your life, you have to inject insulin into this area to keep you alive. And we give God thanks and praise to a man by the name of Sir Frederick Banting, who 104 years ago in Canada, it's all on the internet, noticed a meager dog outside and decided to make up a concoction with his American medical student Charles Best. And they made up this concoction. They injected it into the meager dog, and the dog started to put back weight on again. That was how insulin was discovered, man-made, artificial or synthetic insulin 104 years ago. Of course, it's been much more improved since then. So that's type 1. Everybody with type 1 has to inject insulin. Now, in honor of Sir Frederick Banting, World Diabetes Day is the 14th of November. The 14th of November is World Diabetes Day. It is the birthday of Sir Frederick Banting. So if you go on any quiz show and they ask you, whose birthday is the 14th of November? Sir Frederick Banting, who discovered insulin. It also happens to be the birthday of our current King Charles, but he now nothing to do with diabetes though, okay? Right. Type 2 is different. Remember, 90% of people have type 2. It might be hereditary, runs in the family. It might be to do with the lifestyle that the person is leading. It might be to do that insulin is being produced, but not enough, or it's not doing its job properly. Okay? That's type 2. There's no, and then some people said, Tony, some people lead such a disciplined life, this is type 2, so disciplined, that the diabetes goes into reverse. It doesn't mean they have been cured. If they go back to eating unhealthily and not doing the physical activity, which I'm going to show you in a minute, the diabetes will come back. So nobody can sit there and say, oh, there's a cure for diabetes. Don't be fooled. But the bulk of people, 90% have type 2. And Sir Frederick Banting was the person who discovered it how many 104 years ago, hence World Diabetes Day. So age is a factor. The older you get, it can come your way. Family history, in my case, hereditary. Ethnicity, I'm going to show you a slide which says how much black people get diabetes much earlier than white people. Weight, if you have too much weight as well, although also if you're meager, you can still get it. Waist circumference. And these are the issues which I'm going to now tell you about from diabetes. Erectile dysfunction is the man trying to make love to his partner. His penis cannot remain erect. It keeps flopping because too much blood glucose or blood sugar is in his penis. That is what erectile dysfunction is. Then the next one down, so that you don't say how Tony Kelly know that. Sexual problems are more common in women with diabetes, and that's the quote from Diabetes UK, page 8. Of course, there's heart attacks, which I mentioned at the beginning, and the strokes and the high blood pressure, all are combined with diabetes, and high cholesterol. I'm going to give you 2 tips for high cholesterol. Have your oats porridge of a morning. I'm begging you. My mother, as a nurse, used to say to that, really, keep your stomach filled. Oats porridge. And I'm not talking the refined, and here I can mention the brand, Fosca and Quaker Oats. I am talking going to the big supermarkets, and you buy the thick rolled jumbo oats. That is, and you eat that as porridge of a morning, that will keep you filled. And then some people take home the thick rolled jumbo oats and they put it in the blender. What's the purpose of that? That just breaks it down to the thin refined oats. So try and go for the thick rolled jumbo oats, and you'll find that your cholesterol level will come down. Also for cholesterol, celery. If you can get celery, eat the celery raw, or if you want to put it in your broths, in your meat dishes or in your soups and your broths and so on. Either raw or in your meat dishes and so on, and your soups, celery brings your cholesterol levels down. Moving on, who knows what is gestational diabetes? Sorry? When the person is pregnant. Not every woman gets gestational diabetes. Some women do, and when they get it, it is only during the gestation period. Once they've had the baby or babies, the diabetes disappears. But the risk is that mother, having had gestational diabetes, is at risk of developing type 2 diabetes later in life, as are the child or children she's had. They too are at risk of developing type 2. We don't know why that is, but some women get gestational diabetes and some don't get it. Who knows, and this is a big one, I'm going to be really pleased if somebody can tell me, what does impaired glucose regulation mean? Impaired glucose regulation. What does that mean? Any guesses? Huh? Sorry? Okay, I'll tell you. Some people seem to think impaired is to do with the eyes. No. If you go to your GP and your GP says to you, this is why I have to tell them in England, you need to speak the language of the people, that you are currently borderline diabetes or pre-diabetes. The prefix pre means before. That's exactly what that means. Impaired glucose regulation means you're borderline diabetes or pre. You haven't got it yet. And I come across so many people in the 14 years I've been doing it in England. And they said, Tony, you know, my doctor, they tell me 3 years ago or 8 months ago or 6 months ago that I'm borderline or pre-diabetes. And I say, what have you done about it? And they look me in the eye and they say they haven't done anything. I feel like slap them. Because once you get told you're pre-diabetes or borderline, the behavioral or lifestyle changes is what you're supposed to do so that you don't end up falling into the type 2 diabetes category. Because once you get into it, try and get out of it. And this is why the checkups constantly at the once a year or every 6 months, you go and get your blood glucose done, your blood sugar done, or whatever you want to call it done. Go and get your checks done to see whether you're pre-diabetes or borderline, or whether you even have the condition and need to do the necessary things in order to keep complications at bay. Are you with me? Yes. Are you with me? Yes. Right. Next one then is steroid-induced diabetes. This one I like. I have 2 friends in London, and they both had to have a kidney transplant, and I learned something about a kidney transplant. When you have a kidney transplant, I was under the impression that they would take out the dead kidney and put the kidney, the one who's giving it. They don't. You still remain with your 2 kidneys, and they sew on the other kidney onto one of them. That's so you end up with 3 kidneys instead of 2. Okay? Now, this is a score. It is a foreign body inside of you. It's an alien body. So you have to go on anti-rejection tablets for the rest of your life. Okay? Now, anybody in here, anybody on the Zoom listening in, Tony Kelly is not saying, oh my God, the tablets are steroids, heavy, strong steroids. And I'm not saying now, because it can cause the pancreas to get steroid-induced diabetes, that you're just going to dash for the tablets and not stay on them. You have to remain on the tablets if you have had a kidney transplant, because it's an anti-rejection. But let's say you have asthma or bronchitis. Those are mild steroids, so it won't be an issue with that, okay, with mild steroids like asthma and bronchitis. But this is the issue. This is the score that you need to be aware of. You might have your son or daughter or your father and him go to the gym. 1 minute, he's my size. Fast forward 3 weeks' time, the incredible Hulk with them big biceps and the triceps and so on. A lot of these men and women in the gym, muscle men, instead of doing it the slow way, 8, 9, 10 months, they do the quick fix route and inject steroids into here and into here. They will eventually get steroid-induced diabetes from all of that steroids that they're pumping into here to bulk up. So if you know anybody, your neighbor, your friend, your colleague, your work colleague, or your relative, who you notice suddenly bulk up, tell them, Sir Tony Kelly say, they're on steroids and to stop it. Because once they get the steroid-induced diabetes, they've had it for life. Are you understanding that? Yes. Right, okay. Moving swiftly on then. Now this is where we come into the picture. People from African, Caribbean, and South Asian backgrounds are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop type 2 diabetes than white people. That's not me saying that. That has been given to me by the National Health Service and Diabetes UK. 2 to 4 times. And we start getting it from age 25. White people start getting diabetes 15 years later at age 40. So we're already on that slippery slope from we reach. And now, because of the eating habits of young people and so on, young people across the world, including in Jamaica, are getting diabetes from age 15, 16, 17, type 2. When I was growing up as a child, no, apart from anybody who had type 1, no young person in our day of growing up had type 2 diabetes. But now you go around the clinics and the health centers and the hospitals, the children as young as 15, 16, 17, because of their sedentary couch potato lifestyle and because of their eating habits, are all developing type 2 diabetes. We have got to get hold of this and try and get them to eat sensibly and eat healthfully. Also, this is one, it's to do with the genetics, DNA, metabolism, also to do with environmental factors like overcrowding. But this is one I want to point out to you. Stress causes blood glucose levels to rise and can cause you to get diabetes. Just stress. So I think that that happens a lot. You're going to work all the time. I only have a small one left. You're going to work all the time, and you're stuck in these long traffic jams. Go out and buy some squeezy balls. Please, I'm begging you. And when you're in your car or vehicle, I'm deadly serious. All you need to do, stuck in the traffic and you're not moving, this relieves your stress. Believe you me, it works. Going to any place where you can get these and buy them. And I'm showing that up in the air. Anybody can take that one. Then, this. These. People find this very hard to believe. I normally give out these at my events, but by the time I give them out, everybody start pop them that me can't even hear me ears. So I don't give them out anymore. But please, it is very satisfying. Go into, and when you're going to the hospitals in England, they have them, and the patients are there lying down, and they're just doing this. Believe you me, it releases stress. Sorry? You're saying really? That. Okay? Then, apart from that, a lot of us in here are Christians. Pray. Pray, pray, pray. Walk around the block. Take deep breaths if that's necessary to really keep your stress levels down. And I know that is fact because a woman said to me about 6 months ago, she said, Tony, my husband died suddenly. And I just couldn't deal with the death of my husband. And she started getting sicker and sicker. And she went to the doctor, and the doctor said, but you've ate healthily and you do physical activity. The death of her husband, she took it so badly, she was so stressed, and that's a classic example of her having developed stress, diabetes from stress. So I'm begging you, in the car, wherever you are, make sure you relieve your stress and your tension that's around you. Is that making sense? Right. Then poor diet and couch potato lifestyle. And this is where I'm going to do some stuff showing you what we do at home, what I do in terms of the physical activity. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I don't use the word exercise. Exercise conjures up images you want to go where? To the gym. And I'm not into the gym in that sense. I do go to the gym. I can tell you, I do Pilates. I do acrobics. I do badminton. If that block of flats is 30 floors high, and if you see me in a lift, come up and slap me. I don't do lifts. I will walk up. My feet were made for walking. I know some people who have mobility issues and are disabled, so they might not be able to. But God gave you your feet to walk. We used to have to walk, go to school in the hot burning sun Monday to Friday, and then come back. And now everybody is in motor car. They're going just 200 yards down the road, They take out the car key. Come on, people, please. No, that is what happens. That is, I can tell you that happens. Also, one thing they do, before I sit down here, is they go to the supermarket. Instead of parking the car way down yonder, they park the supermarket right out the entrance, right by the door to come in. And then when they go inside, some of the supermarkets, especially in Britain, have this thing called the travelator. They just plunk themselves on the travelator to go up there, so. Do you have a travelator at your home? No, you don't. So what the dickens you're going into the supermarket to use the travel? And right next to the travelator is the stairs, But listen to this one. When I left here in 1979, there was only JBC, and you wait for 4 o'clock for the rice grain them to go and then to see the screen come on. Isn't that correct? Yes. Right. Now, this is what most of you do. Beep, 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 beep. I'm going to give you some advice. Hide the remote control, or put dead batteries in it, or take out the batteries. And within an hour, people try and fool me, tell me, say, oh, some of the television now have no button. Every single television made has buttons either at the top, the side, or the button. And those who tell me they want me to say, you're lazy, you haven't been to look at it to see whether it have. Everyone, because I've been into all electric stores in London and Birmingham, and they say, you can't make a television, because if you lose this, how are you going to change it? So don't give me that. So that's number one, hide the remote control. And if you within an hour have to get up from your seat and change the channel, or do whatever, turn on the volume or so on, and do that 3 or 4 times, you have done some movement. You have allowed the blood to go circle around the body. Are you with me? This is another one. Alexa, Siri, turn off the light. Alexa, Siri, open the curtain. Alexa, Siri, turn on the radio. When I was born with Alexa and Siri, back in the day, you get up off your proverbial and you go and turn off the light. You turn off the radio. You close the curtain. We have become so used to these remote control devices. It is now ruining our lives and so on. So you need to do something about that. Then for the children now, the cell phone, the Game Boy, the Kindle, we as adults need to take control of these kids. That is why they're getting diabetes. When I was a child, we used to play jacks and marbles and hopscotch. Did the kids know about jacks and marbles and hopscotch these days? Yes. Oh, you do? But most kids don't. Most kids don't. And that is why I brought with me on this trip. I said, you know what? I want the kids, and when they start to do that, I want the kids to go into doing more skipping. So I bought a whole of these skipping ropes, and each event I go to, I give out skipping ropes. And these are so good, where it tells you how many revolutions you've done. When I was doing skipping as a child, we get the whisk. And by the time you whisk through time, the whisk frail. But now these are made with such material that they don't spoil. So you can have one of those, okay? And I want you to go, instead of buying this and that and the Game Boy and the cell phone, buy them skipping rope so they skip with their friend and what have you. They are doing some physical. Are you with me? Yes. Give them practical things. And then you have the lovely sun. Out in the sun. Hardly any sun is in England, you know. So we have to have vitamin D tablets during the winter months to make sure we keep healthy. But I want you to encourage children to move away from the couch potato sedentary lifestyle. 6 kids going in a car to school, and the school is just down by Holy Childhood. Walk with an adult, make them walk. And then another thing you do for me, you see, when you come off at the bus stop or the taxi rank or so on, don't stop at your stop. Stop at the stop before, practical at work again, or the stop after, and you walk briskly. So your heart muscles are pumping up and down, pumping. That's physical activity you're doing. Here's another one. I go up, since being here, I go up to Hermitage Dam. I got there early morning, and you see everybody walking around with their flashlight and their torch before the weather here is very hot. Walk in the early hours of the morning or in the cool of the evening in a safe place. Some people go down to Emancipation Park to walk. Some go elsewhere. Where I'm staying up in Armour Heights, you have some whole heap of hills. And once I start climbing the hills, but what I'm wanting you to do, here's a walking club with 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 8 of you. She goes and calls on her friend, and her friends start to make excuse. My head hurt me. I don't think I can go walk today. Or my foot. And then she is very assertive. She says to her, listen, we've got another 6, 7 people to pick up on the way, you know. So she reluctantly go put on her clothes because she was convinced she wasn't going. But she assertively tells her, then we call on this man, and he's into punctuality. He said, wait, what took you so long? Come on. And we tell him the story of that one. Then we call on this woman, and she said, oh, me did have one curry last night. I mean, not too bad. And you say, listen, the fresh air will do you the world of good. And all 8, 9 of you, once or twice a week, you have to do it as a group, once or twice a week. And don't walk on flat surfaces. You will get no benefit from flat surfaces. You find hills and gradients. And if you keep on doing that, you see the weight start dripping off you. And then some walkers are faster than the others. So you'll agree to meet some further up that station, and the slower ones will take their time. You talk about President 45, you talk about the Prime Minister, you talk about Bethel Baptist Church, you talk about your children, and you don't realize, because you're in company and with others, you've walked 3 miles, and you've done that twice a week. That is something you can do as a form of, instead of this sedentary sit down all day watching television, you know, and get the kids to be part of that as well, okay? Jamaica produces some of the fastest runners in the world. We know that. But we also have some people who are just not into physical activity at all. Moving swiftly on. You're going to get that over there. There's a lot of diabetes material I brought with me from England. And one of them is this African Caribbean guide. That green is where you're supposed to be having more vegetables and fruits. I know we've had Melissa, and the fruits are not as plentiful as they normally would be. But you need to go for more vegetables, please, in your diet. The carbohydrates, which is this side, you have to cut down on the patty and the hardo bread and the yam, because all carbohydrates break down into your body into blood glucose or blood sugar. I am begging you to remember that. Some people seem to think, diabetes is only ice cream and Christmas cake and bun and soda or what have you. All carbohydrates you eat, which is starchy food for energy, which you need for a certain extent, but you have to cut down on the amount, portion sizes. And of course, then you will have your meat products and so on. But that you can take away and use it as your guide, please. Body mass index, I'm not going to talk about that. This one I'm going to talk about. And straight away I take off this and tell you, say, me now run duppy. You know what that means? Eh? Eh? When I said this in England, some people said, Tony, please explain. When people die, the ghosts or the duppy, you know, want them come back, you put it against the windows and the door and so on. But this is what Diabetes UK says. Not me, Diabetes UK says. All women should try to aim for, from the belly button, not from the trousers size only, so from the belly button, should try to aim for, no ethnicity difference, Asian, African, Caribbean, white, 31.5 inches from the belly button. Now, some of you might remember the Miss World or the Miss Jamaica. 36-inch bust, 24 and a 36-inch hourglass figure. If there's any woman in here with a 24-inch waist, gladly stand up and show us, please. But this is the score. Diabetes UK says this. Let's say the woman's waist size, remember it says not your trouser size from the belly button. Let's say the person's size is 40. Realistically, she's not going to come down to 31.5. But I want that woman who has a 40-inch to try to come from 40 to at least 38 to get rid of some of the fat which is preventing. Here. Huh? It's back? It's back. Okay. So, as I said, depending on where you are, try and bring some of the fat away from here. Asian men, because they are more prone or susceptible to getting diabetes, Asian men have a measurement of their own. Note these because I'm going to ask it later and see who remembers. 35 inches is what Asian men, again from the belly button, it clearly says not the trouser size, from the belly button. White men and black men, we are allowed an extra 2 inches of 37 inches. Now this is a bit about meager people. Tofu, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. You will have a man or a woman as skinny as a rake, but the fat still is deposited around the liver, although they're slim, and around the pancreas. So if a slim person tells you they have diabetes, it's not up to you to dispute it and tell them, say, I lie them a tell or foolishness them a chat. Okay? Signs and symptoms. You heard me mention the 4 T's. T for tired, T for toilet, T for thirsty, T for thinner. Thrush and genital itching, some people have because of the whole heap of blood glucose, blood sugar in their genital area. Blurred vision, extreme tiredness, weight loss. Read what's at the bottom, please. That is why you must go and get your health checks done. No tired, no toilet, no thirsty, no thinner, no slow healing of cuts and wounds, no blurred vision. And you're going about your very merry life, and especially young people who think they're immortal, invisible, nothing going to happen to them. And then suddenly you feel a bit unwell. You go to your GP and him say, do you realize diabetes is in your system here? And you've had it for quite a while. Go get your health checks done. Am I making that clear? Right. So here we go. Eye disease, which I mentioned. Heart disease, cardiovascular, the heart disease. Kidney disease. And in Britain, a lot of people in the hospital on dialysis are Asian people. When you go into the hospital to visit, you just see them. I've been to the one here I can't remember the diabetes, and about 8 people all on dialysis. You have to take care of yourself and make sure you don't end up having to go on dialysis 2-3 times a week for your kidneys to be drained. And then nerve disease. Some people, even before they get to the GP, they can actually go to the Diabetes UK website, to the Know Your Risk tool. They put in the age, the gender, the race, the ethnicity, their height, all the things it asks for, and then it can work out whether they are no risk of having diabetes, low risk, or medium or high. And if they're in the medium or high, they are referred to the National Diabetes Prevention Program over an 8-month period to try and get them to lose weight and tone up and everything, if that's the case. So reduce your risk by eating a healthy diet, balanced diet. Be more active and stop smoking. I'm going to list 3 of my personal experiences. I won't have time for all, but the first one. HbA1c is a standard 3-month blood test. HbA1c. I happen to have something called the sickle cell trait, not the full-blown sickle cell anemia, just the trait. If my wife had the sickle cell trait, the chances are our daughter would have been born with sickle cell anemia. Now, for those who are not familiar with sickle cell, a sickle is crescent-shaped, C-shaped like a moon. It's not like an oval, not like a disc, so or like a scythe. You know, where you use a scythe to cut the grass. So that sickle, that's why some people have blood crisis. When the blood is trying to go through the body, they go into the enormous, terrible crisis and have to be admitted to hospital. So sickle cell trait, sickle cell anemia, sickle cell trait, and thalassemia. We cannot do the standard 3-month blood test, and that applies here as well. We have to do something called the fructosamine test, which only allows the clinic or the lab to say what you've ate or drank for the last 2 weeks. Only the last 2 weeks. Okay? That's the fructosamine test. And then what you need to notice, when they take the blood from your arm, they're supposed to put 2 vials. One should be red, the other one should be yellow, to differentiate that when it goes to the lab, they are going to be testing for fructosamine. You must make no. And in the earlier days when I used to go down to my GP, they just put 2 blue blood caps on it, 2 red caps, and then they called me back. And then I opened my mouth and said, "Why is this? Why are you calling me back?" Oh, the assistants or whoever, or the student nurses who took the blood, weren't aware of the fact that you had the sickle cell trait, and they needed to put the yellow cap on it, which differentiates it from the. So when I go now, I tell them, and I say, "Please put on it fructosamine." And half of them can't spell fructosamine. I have to spell it for them. But moving swiftly on, pernicious anemia. Some years ago, I was feeling very tired, and I went to see my GP. Normally, I wouldn't have done that before. Remember, I said, so saw my GP, and the GP said, "You are lacking in vitamin B12, lacking in vitamin B12. And I said, "Well, how are we going to deal with it, doctor?" And the doctor said to me, "For the rest of your life, every 3 months, you will have to come down to the surgery and have a B12 injection." I said, "Doctor, you can turn and come again. That ain't happening." I went and spoke to the nurses and doctors in my family, and I went to the Pernicious Anemia Society website. I'm not vegetarian or vegan, but anybody who is vegetarian or vegan, B12, the source of B12 is from animals. Animals are what B12 comes from. I do eat meat. So I said, okay, I had this. I'll pass it around. Fluoridix, liquid iron and vitamin formula. No preservatives, no colorings, no lactose. I bought that at Boots. And I had that. And then I went back 3 months later, and the doctor said, "It's gone back into the right range. The B12 is now fine." And I just looked at the doctor and said in pure Jamaican language, "So what the dickens you was wanting to juke me in my bottom every 3 months for the rest of my life?" I'll now to this day, I think the doctor understand what I was saying. But the point I'm making is, when you go to your GP, take somebody with you. Don't go on your own. Take a friend, an extra pair of, even when I go to see my GP or doctor, I don't wear these, and there's about 8 in the practice. And one said to me, "Oh, I noticed that you don't take metformin," which is a well-known drug for, I will prescribe. I said, "What for? I am managing my diabetes without metformin. Why would you want to prescribe a drug for me when I'm doing all the things that I should do?" And then he said, "Well, you sound very knowledgeable." I said, "Because I know what I'm talking about." But so that's what I'm saying. My grandmother used to tell me as a child, believe it or not, I was a shy little boy, and she said, "Open your mouth and talk. Me not stop talk." Okay? But seriously, you need to be asking the questions. And don't walk out of a GP surgery with 3, 4, 5 different medications. And this one to counteract and that one to counteract. You need to find out what you're getting the medication for, and do you really need all of them. Some people have to be on medication. Let's make no bones about that. Some people have to take medication, but not everything. Drugs is not the be-all and end-all. I'll mention kidney stones because that's very important. One morning, years ago, I felt the most almighty pain. And I turned to my wife and said, I think my appendix is burst. My wife's very bright. She said, what side's hurting you? And I told her whichever side. She said, don't be silly, your appendix is not on that side. I said, I'm in pain, the equivalent of a man giving birth to a child. She said, well, okay, let's take you to the hospital. So the ambulance came and took me to the hospital. And on release, what was happening, I was having kidney stones. And this is what you must listen carefully. Milk. You see the cow's milk with the cream on the top? I gladly told the doctor, I love that. He said, cow's milk is for the formation of teeth and bones in babies and children. At our stage of life, we do not need to drink cow's milk. Plant-based milk, I'll name them. Plant-based milk, almond, coconut, cashew, rice, and oat. Some of them taste bad like what, But having said that, almond, oat, cashew, coconut, and rice milk. Now, some people said to me, what about soya milk? This is the issue with soya milk. The soya, as a product, is mass-produced, and it attracts a lot of pests. And what the farmers do, when it's produced like that, they spray pesticides on the soya, and it can end up going into the food chain and be carcinogenic or cancerous. So I avoid soya milk unless it is organically produced soya milk, which is not produced under that big farming product of pesticides and so on. But try and go for plant-based milk. I know some of them are more expensive, but you certainly can get coconut milk over here. So that would be my take on that. I'm not going to bother with the blood pressure. The only thing I'll say about blood pressure, I used to be on blood pressure tablets. And I read something about having the beetroot. The more beetroot you have in your diet, cooked or uncooked, and organic beet juice. And I was able, my doctor said, I'm taking your blood pressure tablets. You have done it by using these natural substances. I don't know it will work for you. You have to decide or so on. But that helped me. Now, why is it not moving again now? That one's working, but what? Gosh. Gremlins in the works. Whoops. Let me see if it will move this way. Where's the technician? Something's gone wrong here. Is he around? Huh? Can you help? Huh? Why is it frozen? Huh? That one is that, but this should go up and down. It's not going up and down. Huh? Sorry about this. Whoops. Huh? Yeah. Oh, all right. Could you get me back to where I was, sir? So we go back into now from beginning. Okay. Bear with me. We're nearly there. I think it's before this. Go up here. No, go one up. Go one up. Yeah, and then let me do the next one now. Yeah. So I'm here now. Huh? About another 10 minutes? Yeah. It's responding now. Right, okay, thank you. So, eat a healthy, balanced diet. Who can tell me why do these people listed there, why do they get diabetes more than anybody else? Sedentary lifestyle. They're sitting down for most of the time, and therefore they get diabetes more than anybody else. And they go home, watch the television, then they go back up to bed, and then the same cycle continues, and they sleep when the television's on. Why do these people don't get diabetes? Hang on 1 second, I need to use the loo. Where's the loo? Yes. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry about that. Moving on. You remember I said in the slides, India was second on the list in terms of people with diabetes. Can somebody explain to me why do dressmakers, seamstresses, and tailors, why they hardly get diabetes in India? Oh, yes, okay. Right. That's for probably one of your little children or grandchildren. What they're actually doing, they are sitting down for 10, 11, 12 hours for the day. But what they're doing, you remember the good old Singer sewing machine? Yes. Where you're pedaling? Yes. That they're doing that. And then some of them have this stretch thing, where you're pulling this. They are getting a lot of physical activity. Although they're sitting down for 10, 11, 12 hours, they are doing some physical movement. That is why that is. A study in India proved that. Take your medication if you're on it. I won't bother with social prescribing. Control your blood glucose levels. Oral hygiene. I have one of my cousins here in the audience, and she's a dentist. Oral hygiene is very important for people with diabetes to prevent gum disease, prevent tooth decay, to prevent bad breath because of the amount of saliva, the blood glucose or blood sugar in the saliva. They have to make sure they go and see their dentist, get dental checkup twice a year, and use floss and brush all the time to get rid of all the things that are in the mouth. Oral hygiene is so important in terms of diabetes, okay? Moving swiftly on. Food traffic lights. Just like how you have the red light, and you have to stop at the red light. Well, you should stop at the red light. I see some of the guys over here driving through the red light, but they shouldn't. Red light, then amber, then green. It's the same principle with the food on the food labels. If you pick up a lot of things with red on it, it will be high in the sugars and the fats and the all the reds there, the salt, sugars, fats, etc. You need to go for the better choice, the green choice, low in fat, low in sugar, low in everything. Go for more greens and a few ambers in the middle as well. But that's the essence of the food traffic light signal. My good friend, Dr. Gumbele, he works over here, and he's a diabetes expert. And he really loves his smoothies. You have the vegetable smoothies, but you also have the fruit smoothies. How Diabetes UK trained me, they said, Tony, try to avoid smoothies as much as possible. First of all, the ones in the shops and supermarkets, what are they packed with? Sugar. But don't try and go for too many smoothies or even try to make them at home. Your mouth was made to chew the food into, the Latin word is bolus, B-O-L-U-S, which stands for ball. So you chew the food, the kale, the cabbage, the lettuce, the tomato, the carrot, the peach, the raspberry. You chew it into a ball. The enzymes in the mouth do what they have to do. It goes down here And then the peptic acids and the amino acids, think of your biology and general science days, do what they have to do and circulate it around the body. That is the best way to do it. If you have a smoothie, I demonstrate. It has not been able to do what it should be doing if you ate the thing the normal way. So the ripe banana and so on, please do it that way. I want you to spend a minute looking at, I'll talk you through, but look at the benefits of water. Please, we don't drink enough water. We have a lot of sweat, excretion from sweat and urine and so on, bowel movement. The aim of drinking the water is to flush the kidneys, or to flush the poisons and toxins out of the system. Your urine should be a lovely pale yellow color. If it's dark in color, it means you are dehydrated. Now, some people struggle to drink 2 liters of water. I do every day, but some people struggle. But remember, there's water in oranges, satsumas, grapes, mangoes, what have you. There's water content in those things as well. So count that too in your water consumption. But I want you, and then remember, when water falls from God's sky, is it fizzy? Is it sparkling? Is it pop? Is it aerated? In the old days, we used to call it aerated water. You know, the Kelly soda and the D&G. Water from God's sky is pure source of water. Don't go to supermarkets and restaurants and asking for, can I have some sparkling water? Because the sparkling or the fizzy water, believe you me, they have put chemicals in it to give it that sparkling and that fizz. You will put on weight. You might think you won't, but trust me, you will, because there's chemicals in it. So just drink this, the plain, or what we would call source of water. Okay? Diabetes UK, that's the organization in Britain. And I have one set aside. I'm not going to end up with all the slides for you because time has run out, but I want to do the cultural myth slides. So if I bring that down, and then I'll end there very quickly. Cultural myths. Cultural myths. Yes, I'll do these, and then we'll end. And while I'm slideshow from beginning, when we finish, I have brought with me from England, apart from all of that stuff that you're going to take, there are 2 things on the wall there. I want you to go and take a picture of them. It's herbs, it's spices, it's the foods we sort of eat and so on. And most of these are in Jamaica. The garlic, the turmeric, the this, the that, all the other things there. And each section tells you the benefits of what it is. Please take pictures of those 2 that are on the wall. But let me end with us these few slides. Cultural myths and misconceptions that are out there in the world and we need to get rid of. Cultural myths and misconceptions. Now, herbal remedies. I grew up in Whitehall, as I said. If anything was wrong with me, my granny not give me Panadol or Fensic or Kafanol or paracetamol. She'd send me out the door to go get that leaf and that one and that one and that one. And when she done rub me up, the headache or the toothache or the belly ache gone, and I'm back to school. So I'm not going to stand here and poo-poo herbal remedies. They have their place, okay? And in the Asian community, they like to use Karela, which is a bitter melon or bitter gourd. We like to use aloe vera and tuna and Cinco Bible. And of course, Elinani Muma go ground, go boil, sorry, cipher and belly, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to poo-poo them. Next one is diabetes is a touch of sugar. Hands up those who said diabetes is a touch of sugar. Well, thank you for that, because I do these events and sometimes people's hands goes up. And I say, excuse me? What have I been beating up my mouth for the last hour for? And you're telling me it's no. It is a serious medical condition. Now, I like white people, but white bread, white flour, and white refined or processed sugar is a no-no. You must go for dark sugar, brown sugar, demerara sugar, in small quantities, and also try honey. Honey, natural honey, not the honey that just drips like that, thick honey. That is what you should use instead. But try to cut down. And most of the processed food these days, most of it is packed with sugar. And one thing I'll tell you, in the earlier days when we used to come on holiday here, and we go to Elshire Beach, we love fried dumpling, Johnny cake or fried dumpling. Can anybody explain to me, why are you putting sugar into this, calling it festival and sending it to people? No. If I come to your home, don't offer me festival, I will not eat it. That is too much sugar already on the carbohydrates, which is the flour and so on. Are you with me? Right. Big is beautiful. Coming to the end now, in some communities, you will see the woman walking down the avenue or the lane. She's this size. Next to her is the man who is conquered. Yes, me have my king, my queen, my princess, my duchess. And he is as skinny as a rake. In some communities, they big up their women folk to be that size. And when I do this in England, they say, Tony, that is part of our culture. Me say, that is part of diabetes coming your way. Stop that, okay? Come on. Is it an old person's condition now in 2026? No, probably was back in the day, as I said, but not anymore. We have to dispel that myth when we go into some communities. Now look at this. A big belly is a sign of a happy marriage. She don't want him to go to the road because and people will say she not feeding him well and him too mag and this, that, and that. So she piled the food. That man is about to have triplets. Look on him belly. So, let me just try and remind you, what size, ideally, should all women aim for from the belly button? 30? 31 and a half, 31.5. What size should Asian men from the belly button aim for? And what size should black men and white men? 37. So sometimes I go to communities and I will see a man and he said, Tony, you know, me I watch my belly, me I watch my weight, and say, it out yourself. Me say, you better haul that in. That is way too much weight you're carrying. But seriously, they need to try and get rid of it. Because what did I say was around here? What's around here? And what is it making? And the more fat that's preventing it from doing so, then the diabetes is going to get worse. In some communities back in England, they want to show off how rich and ostentatious they are and so on. So they have all of these, the cakes and the bun and the ring donuts in the larder. And you notice the one degger strawberry in the larder. I would rather see the prunes and the satsumas and the oranges and the grapes in your larder. The more fruit, look at that. I'm a fruit person, fruit and vegetable. That is natural stuff you need to go for. That is probably 3 times a year, okay? Moving swiftly on, coming to the end. Or the Holy Bible or the Quran say you're going to get diabetes, just accept it. Nowhere, and some people believe that, but nowhere in the Holy Bible or the Quran does it actually state that. So we have to dispel that myth when we're out there. It's a mild condition. What's all this big fuss and talk about? What's going on about this thing for? Is it a mild condition? No, okay? Or if you have diabetes, you won't be able to have you can't find a family, you can't have a husband, have children. My stepmother, who married to my father in Canada, she had type 1. So it was very difficult for her to conceive, but eventually in her late 40s, she had my half-sister Julie, who lives in Canada. So that's the myth we have to dispel. In the Muslim community, if you prick your finger during the month of Ramadan, you have broken the fast. That's out there in communities. Pricking your finger to test your blood sugar levels has nothing to do with breaking the fast. And the Imam, the religious people in the Muslim faith, have confirmed that that is so. And before I go, I'm going to end on the issue. I came to this country this time in May. May is mango season. Me love mango. St. Thomas, me come from, so me love mango. And I'll just end. Me no drink coffee, tea, mango time. Care how nice it may be, mango time. At the height of the mango crop, when the fruit them are ripe and drop, wash your pot, turn them down, mango time. Turpentine, large and fine, mango time. Robin mango, so sweet, mango time. Number 11, and here is skin. Pack the bag and ram them in. Make the best side the crop, mango time. How do I know that? I used to sing with Olive Lewin's group, the Jamaica Folk Singers. Okay? Eat on a mango, but you don't have to. Like my grandmother, she'd have 10, 15 mango in a pudding pan they're eating. And then fat like what? No. You cannot eat so much mango and not go and do physical activity to burn up the calories. And on that note, I end. Thank you very much.
Wow. Let me talk to this part. Thank you so much. Can I ask you all to stand and stretch? Please. And up and down a little bit to show that we've really learned something today from Tony. This is our question and answer, but we are limited for time, but I'm sure there are one or two questions. And so we'll allow you to come to the microphone if you have any burning questions. You can sit now. I'll keep moving up and down the line. Any burning questions, please go ahead. Identify yourself.
I'm Dorothy Thompson, and I'm type 2. You hear so many things, you watch so many things about what you should eat, what you should not do. To be honest, right now, I'm confused with so many things. But what I tend to find, even when I don't eat late in the evenings, that the number
It's
tends to be high in the morning.
Yes.
That is a troubling thing for me, and I have not really been getting, to me, satisfactory answer.
Right.
How,
Well,
why, what?
all right. Well, I too, each individual is different. And remember, I'm not medically qualified, so I'm not going to be able to give you a satisfactory answer. But for some people, yes, although they've starved themselves, the numbers are still high. That is a discussion you have to have with your nutritionist or your dietitian as to what is it you're doing or not doing. But you mentioned that we struggle, what food we should eat, what we shouldn't eat. Diabetes UK sanctioned this book, Carbs and Cals, World Foods, a visual guide to African, Arabic, Caribbean, South Asian foods for diabetes and weight management. This tells you about glucose levels, about, it's only £12.99. Amazon has it. I would suggest take a picture of it and have this in your kitchen to use this as a guide. What's good for you? Because I didn't mention the portions of rice you eat. First of all, if you hold your hand out like this for me, please. That's the portion of rice you should eat on your dinner plate. Not this, okay? This. And some people said, Tony, you're talking the uncooked rice. No, I'm talking the cooked rice, okay? And the 3 rices you should go for are brown rice, basmati rice, white or brown. This is what Diabetes UK says, or wild rice. You can have quinoa, or you can have, what's that other one? Bulgur. But brown rice, basmati rice, white or brown, or wild rice are the main rices to go for. But portion sizes, very important. And if you have too much rice on your plate, my grandmother said your eye is too big for your belly.
Hi, Tony. I'm Alan Searchwell. My sister knows Tony from the UK, so I always come and view his talks. I just had a comment about the prevalence of diabetes and other illnesses in dark-skinned communities in northern places. There's a doctor at Boston University School of Medicine who has studied vitamin D his entire life. And his theory is that one of the reasons why dark-skinned people have so many health problems in northern climates is that they don't have enough vitamin D.
Right. This is
He attributes high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, and he lists all the conditions that are prevalent amongst dark-skinned people. And his theory is that it has a lot. Oh, and people say, well, that vitamin D is okay. They get enough sun, and even in the Caribbean, in the tropics, people say, no, man, I get enough sun. And he says he has done the research, and it's surprising to know how many people don't have enough vitamin D, are suboptimal with vitamin D, even in the tropics.
Okay.
So that was one thing. Another thing you might be interested in is there's a movie called Hidden Figures.
Yes.
It's about a lady called Katherine Johnson.
Yes.
And the first man to orbit the world 3 times in space would not enter that spacecraft unless Katherine Johnson calculated his trajectory and confirmed what the computer said.
Says, okay, yes, yeah.
And she was a black woman.
And yes, Hidden Figures is all about the whole technology and the space age. Yeah, I'm aware of that. But the first bit, I'd probably have to do some more research as to what that doctor had to say. Because there's all sorts of theories and this, that, and the other, and so on. I can only go by what has been given to me, what I've been trained by. But every minute you hear of a new thing come, because some people say diabetes is a parasite. I've even seen that online, it's a parasite in the pancreas. And I think, oh God, I won't even go there. But I just have to do the bit from my perspective, but not from a medical perspective, because I'm not medically qualified. But people ask me all these sort of medical questions, and I say, go back, go see your GP, and or see your nutritionist, or so on.
Good evening, everybody. Brother Kelly.
Yeah.
Floyd Ebanks here.
Floyd Ebanks.
Floyd, yeah.
From
DHS.
From?
DHS.
DHS?
Yeah. Don Robin.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. My question is neuropathy a sign of type 2 diabetes?
What?
Neuropathy.
My neuropathy?
Yes.
No, I don't have an issue with neuropathy.
No, I'm asking if it's a sign of...
Oh, yes, yeah, yes.
Oh, it can be.
Yes.
But yeah. It is other causes can
there
be...
There might be other causes as well.
For neuropathy.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a quick question. First, excellent presentation, Mr. Kelly. Given what you have shared this evening, which is a wealth of information about preventing diabetes, managing lifestyle, etc., and given what I would call an epidemic in Jamaica in terms of our love of fast food. When I was growing up, it was just that place you were talking about, but now you have many other versions.
Yes.
What are we going to do for young people like this young man here and so on going forward to arrest the condition? Because we don't have the 10 billion that the UK is spending, the 10 billion pounds which they are spending per year. So what are we to do now as a nation to arrest that kind of problem that is developing?
But for a start, a lot of kids don't eat vegetables. You have the fertile soil here and you have the sun. Start getting them like we used to have to do in 4-H club and so on. You start getting them to grow the little garden plot of whether it be lettuce or corn or gungo peas or what. And even if they live in a high-rise building, they can get a window box. They must be able to start growing their own. So when people say to me, we can't get vegetables and so on, I say, well, hang on, get the seeds and get the seedlings and get the kids to get the watering can and go there and do this, that, and the other and grow their own stuff. And then when they bring it to the dinner table, they can say, those are the peas or the carrots or the tomatoes. Get them away from this holy thing. Come on, this is not doing them any good. You know, get them into they're not going to end up being farmers, some might be, but they've got to start learning the whole issue of gardening, having a garden plot. Not just pretty flowers and so on, but food that can be put on the dinner table. That for me would be the starting point.
All right.
And the sooner they do that in primary schools, the better.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. I think you went straight to the heart there.
Yes.
And so my job now is to, question answer now. Closing remarks and vote of thanks. Then we'll have the presentation by Mr. David Garrell. I don't think I need to say much. He said so much. You need to think about what he has said. Thank you for your surprises and prizes.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
May I just say one other thing? I do it strictly for Jamaica. 2 times every month, because of the time difference, which can be 5 hours or 6 hours, I do these online. They're not as interactive. I like doing it like this. But I stay in England, and somebody might say, well, I have a community, and you do it at 6. by which time in England it's 11 or 12 o'clock. So you have to start on time because I'm losing my beauty sleep when I'm online till. But I will do. Take my details or ask me for my card. And then when I come online, I don't want to see just 2 or 3 people. That's not a good use of my time if I'm going to do. But I do it in order of who comes first. So I do 2 a month online, 24 for the year for Jamaican communities who want to see my presentation. Because I've cut it. There's another set of slides which I didn't get to show you. But sorry.
You have a website.
Yeah, it's all there.
Okay, so we need to take a picture of the
Indeed. And the QR code. Take the QR code. Everything will be there.
QR code and take response. So at this time, I just want to say thank you. You've said so much. I've learned and we have all learned. And we all now must become diabetes, maybe not ambassadors, but certainly encourage others to go to their GP
Yes.
and join also some of the information from Tony. I want to thank the Holistic and Health Promotion Committee for organizing this presentation and inviting Tony. And the communications team for your support throughout the presentation. And I want to thank you all for coming as well and for all of those who have prepared the facility to allow us to be here. At this time, I'm going to ask David Garrett to come and make the presentation.
Okay, all right. That's, all right. Can you take a photo, Annie or Shelly Ann, please? All right. You've got one, Shelley? This is Dr. Shelly Ann, and she's a dentist. Thank you. Okay, thank you. That's nice.
Okay, let us close off in prayer. Righteous Father, we just thank you for bringing us here this evening, dear Lord. We thank you for the knowledge that you have given your Son, dear Lord, to impart on us, dear Lord. We pray that as we go, dear Lord, that we will think, ponder, dear Lord, and put into action all that we have learned, dear Lord. Many of us park near, we need to start parking far. We need to start moving, dear Lord. Just help us, dear Lord, as a people, dear Lord, to be less sedentary, dear Lord. To think of how we treat our bodies, dear Lord. Remember that our bodies are temples, dear Lord, and we should adorn them and take care of them as such. Think of the things we put into our bodies and think of how we treat our bodies, dear Lord. Because when we treat our bodies as temples, dear Lord, we are able to serve you the way we ought to, dear Lord. So we thank you for this evening. We thank you for what we have learned. And we pray, dear Lord, that as we go back to our homes and just go back to our lives, dear Lord, that we will not go back the same, dear Lord, but that we will change. We will change. So just be with us now. We thank you for Brother Tony, who came all the way from UK. We thank you for his knowledge. We thank you for how he presented, dear Lord, and was just gave freely of his time and his knowledge to us. Thank you, Lord, for all that you have done, and we pray that you will just take us all home safe. In your name I pray.
Amen. Amen. Make sure to come and take the literature that's there, please, and also to take copies, pictures of the thing across here, the spices and foods and the alkaline. Huh? Yes, there, the cure.